16-bit hockey fans, this is a bonus episode. This is part 2 of an interview that I had with Oilers442. And this was after we finished the show. I kept recording, and there was some great discussion that was happening behind the scenes. I did not want to lose it, so this is a bonus release, and I hope you enjoy it because we talk about myself and he playing in NHL 94 on the Super Nintendo. We talk about the Fighting ROM and a few other things. It's a brief one, but still, I enjoyed it, and I think you will as well. So sit back and soak this one in. I can't remember playing you in Super Nintendo. I don't play a lot of it.
Yeah,
And
I know that you're not way too active on it, but I keep I get basically like on my recommended on YouTube, your videos will come up like, with the podcast or even like just like your polls that you put up and whatnot. Like I remember there was one night that I was looking up, this was probably 6 months ago, something like that. There was one night that I typed my username Oilers442 in YouTube. And I think I was just trying to get to like a couple of my old games that I had uploaded from like a series that I had uploaded years ago, like with the fall 2013 SNES Classic Finals. And it was then that I was aware that from some of the games that you and I played, I think both last summer and last fall, you had uploaded something like 3 of our games to YouTube.
yeah, I see them here.
And so I watched them back, and it's like I remembered playing all of them. There was one in particular I did not remember playing, and it's like I watched these 3 games, and I think I only won 1 out of the 3 that you uploaded. So I'm kind of scratching my head. It's like, man, Len's pretty damn tough here in Super Nintendo.
Well, to just give you some context, is I only upload games that are noteworthy if they're close or something interesting happens. If it's a blowout, I'm not going to post it because who's going to want to watch that? So we may have played 10 times and I won those 2 times out of 8. And then, of the 3 I posted, I won 2 out of 3. But there may be a bunch of games that just never got aired because they were just so shitty. And so
I don't know. It's possible, but I don't remember us playing even say 10 times. I really only think we maybe played 5 or 6 games at most. And I really don't remember blowing you out in any of those games. Not only that, but it's like just watching the ones that you did upload. You can clearly tell that you know what you're doing defensively, and you knew some counters to what I was doing. And so just on that alone, I think practically all the games we played were close. Maybe I very well did win more than I lost, but I honestly don't remember that. And I'm not saying that just to stroke your ego either. I really honestly don't remember like winning a majority of the games. I think you're a lot better at Super Nintendo than you give yourself credit for.
Maybe the case. I did a league 6 months ago or so. Maybe I think it was actually more than that. It was the Fall Classic, and it was in the C-Division of Super Nintendo. And I remember everybody picking teams, and I was kind of like mid, and I was like, I'm gonna pick something different. I'm not gonna pick like the top tier teams. And I do this with all the classics now. I'm gonna pick something different, and I picked New Jersey.
Oh yeah,
and I picked New Jersey with the intention. It's like, in New Jersey, they got heavy guys. I'm gonna play with Stevens and Kasatonov. Kasatonov's in New Jersey on the Genesis. Then I started playing. Where the hell's Kasatonov? Yep. He's not here. And I had to play with Fetisov. And Fetisov turned out to be this super slow, but an absolute tank of a player.
Mm-hmm.
This team in New Jersey is like, they're not bad. They're actually really good.
Yeah, New Jersey, honestly, is one of my favorites on Super Nintendo, and they were one of the first teams that I did a write-up on the website. I caught a little bit of flack for not including Claude Lemieux in my write-up, which...
He's good. Yeah, I started him. I now start him. So it's him, Richer, and I think it's Zelepukin or Steamac, the heavier of the two. And I think it's Zelepukin. But Claude Lemieux, that terrible stick handling, he fumbled so many passes, but you got to put him in there. And I won the league. And I ended up winning that league. I was like, what the hell happened? I didn't expect that because previously I played Super Nintendo Classic, and I was first pick, and I picked Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
And I just sucked. I was using the all these one-timers, this Genesis mentality of never worked. Then I was like, you know what? Screw it. I'm going to play Jersey, Deeks, and it worked. It's like, what the heck is this? Like, they're such a good team.
It's funny, really, because yeah, Super Nintendo, it's almost like a deke first mentality is what you need to have, which sometimes I don't like doing that because again, I'm a sucker for great one-timers, and one-timers can be very wide open on Super Nintendo. You hit on several different points there, really. It's like I used to have this odd bias against Pittsburgh, and I should have mentioned this in the interview. Heck, if you want to edit this part in, I don't mind if you edit this.
Yeah,
And this would be funny if you did that. The two teams I have used the least over the years online were for the longest time Calgary and Pittsburgh. Calgary, it's a given. I'm an Oilers fan. I hate everything to do with the Flames. So I didn't use the Flames for the longest time because of just that personal bias. I have started using them more lately, realizing, okay, yeah, they're a great team. Forget this bias stuff. It's just a video game. It doesn't matter anymore. Pittsburgh, I had this weird bias against for a very, very long time because I felt like with them all being 200 plus pounds, I at the time felt like it was unfair for anybody to be using them. Like, oh, they can knock anybody over. They're a super team. Mario Lemieux's 100 overall. Anybody who uses them, it's an unfair advantage no matter what. And I remember I felt like that was justified because I think it was the fall 2011. I was not in the league yet, but I was already playing exhibition games. I was in college at the time, and my college, like their network that they had like on campus and all that, when you would try to connect online using the Hamachi client server and all that sort of stuff, basically it would block you. You could not connect to Hamachi on like Tennessee Tech's internet, so I could not join the league. And I did not have a connection like at my apartment. So I would like stay a lot of times, like, you know, late nights at the library doing my homework, all that sort of stuff. And I wouldn't go back to my apartment till like 9 at night, 10 o'clock at night, whatever. So I would play exhibition games whenever I would drive 2 hours home and be back on, you know, winter or summer break or whatever. I'd play a ton of exhibition games against the boys, but whenever I wasn't playing, you know, in those months I was in college, I would watch everything from afar, be on the website practically every day, you know, just reading up about just, you know, everything. And so I remember, you know, so to get to the point, I remember like it was the fall 2011 classic season, the SNES A, and there was this guy, Poker Champ. He hadn't played in something like 3-4 years, something like that. Well, then he resurfaced, he came back. I played against him, and he just was beating me practically every game. And I was getting frustrated. It was what it was. He goes into the classic season, and mind you, also in these wins, he was using Pittsburgh a lot of the time. He goes into the classic season. He takes Pittsburgh. I want to say he won something like 30 out of the 40 games in the season or whatever. So very, very good season. He gets all the way to the finals, goes against XOT82, who to me was one of the top two players at the time. You know, XOT, he was in a class all of his own along with Grado, just the ability, the one-timers, the passes, all that. And he had Los Angeles. So I thought, oh yeah, he's going to wipe the floor with this Poker Champ guy. No problem. He's going to wipe the floor with him. He's, you know, it's going to be like a revenge, if you will. It's, you know, he's going to get him back for me, if you will. And that didn't happen. Poker Champ swept him 4-0. And at the time I thought, it's like, oh, well, that's only because he had Pittsburgh, that there's no way he could have done that with any other team. It's because of the unfair advantage he had with Pittsburgh. So there was that. I'd used Pittsburgh maybe twice online in the first like 5-6 years that I was playing online. And then it was finally probably honestly 3-4 months ago playing against Great One to Envy and against some of these other guys that I thought, you know what, let me just try Pittsburgh and just get a few reps in with them. And I found very, very quickly, Pittsburgh is actually not that user-friendly of a team on Super Nintendo. They are a good bit slower because of the heavier weight. And so it dawned on me suddenly that it's like, this isn't nearly as much of an advantage as you would think. And so it quickly kind of flipped that script for me where it's like, okay, now I really honestly don't mind if somebody uses them, because if I use a Detroit or a Winnipeg that's a much faster team, for example, like at least like with Solane or Yzerman, people like that, you actually do have something of an advantage over a heavier team like a Pittsburgh. And so that was where finally starting to realize that it's like, okay, weight is very, very important. Checking is very, very important. But that was where suddenly that love of speed came into play, because it's like, okay, now I get it. Why you can succeed with a lighter team that's faster, because I saw with my own eyes just how much sometimes using Pittsburgh is not necessarily always an advantage.
Yeah, Larry Murphy is so slow.
Yes.
In the game. I mean, I guess maybe he got hot, but when I played with Pittsburgh, at least when I played, it was just, what is this? This guy's just pathetic. He's like,
and I know
Hatcher slow.
And I know Great One to Envy, he said the same thing. He actually goes out of his way to sub out Larry Murphy every time he uses Pittsburgh on Super Nintendo. Me, I wouldn't go that far just because I feel like Murphy's other abilities do make him an effective enough player, even though he's slow. But it's just, yeah, it's like I noticed that immediately with Great One. He'll take Murphy
Who do you
out.
Put in like Stanton or Pack.
He puts in Pack, and
yeah.
For me, it's a non-negotiable because the stick handling rating's too slow, and it's like, well, Pack's just as slow as Murphy is, so it's like, to me, it's like
you're getting a lesser version.
Exactly. So for me, it's like I might as well just leave Murphy in because I need all I can get with the lower speed. You mentioned though New Jersey, and it's like, yes, New Jersey is actually one of my favorites to use on Super Nintendo. I fell in love with them relatively early because with the different mix of the players that you mentioned, and then Fetisov and Stevens, you have a very heavy hitting blue line, that basically they're like a brick wall. Good luck getting through them.
Yeah.
They're actually, to me, one of the more user-friendly teams that I would recommend for beginners.
100%. Then that's exactly why, I didn't choose them for that. I mean, I kind of chose them because of the heavyweight, and I wanted Kasatonov. I was kind of disappointed when he wasn't there. But in the end, it was like, yeah, these guys are easy to use. Just point, aim, check, and they go down. This is great. And I will. Stevens, you touched upon it. Once Stevens gets moving, he's fast enough, and he's it's a heavy guy. It takes a lot to knock him down. Like, he's an offensive threat. Fetisov was an offensive threat. I couldn't believe how hard it was to knock that guy off the puck. He was just incredible in some of the games I played with him, and he was so slow, but didn't matter. He was just a tank. What a great team! I like
a left-handed Marty McSorley almost.
McSorley's on a different level. McSorley was so much fun. You give him the puck and just watch people bounce off him, and I love playing with the Kings because of that. But you know what? I used to sub McSorley out because I'm from the Genesis side. It's like, why do you play this piece of shit? Oh, this guy's he can't knock him off the puck. What the hell was I thinking?
And it's funny you mentioned that, Len, because I remember when I first started playing online, I would read AJ's lineup guides that he had for Genesis, and he would recommend taking out guys like McSorley, or taking out Steve Chiasson for Detroit. So, and I had no clue about the weight bug initially. No idea whatsoever. So I started following his lineup guides to the letter in the beginning. And then I wondered, it's like, well, why am I not using McSorley? It's like, he's such a heavy player. I should try using him. And so then I went back with LA and started using McSorley again, and very quickly realizing that, the weight advantage here is just, it far outweighs, it far outweighs like the lack of the speed. And then it was probably say 3-4 months later that I realized AJ was doing his lineups based on the weight bug. And that's like, oh, that makes so much sense. And then once I came over to Genesis last year and I started using the lighter guys and seeing how well they can check, then I knew anyway, but then it just really, really clicks. Like, okay, this is why your Alexei Zhitniks and your Nick Lidstroms are so valued, or Don Sweeney. It's like, this is why these guys are so valued over here. And so there's no way I would ever sub them out on Genesis.
Sweeney's just he's like a missile out there.
But no, and I will say, actually, that's what I love about the Kings, whether it's Genesis or Super Nintendo, is that there's a litany of options in the event that substitutions are needed. And really, even that's what I love about them in Super Nintendo, and kind of just an extra extension of what I said about McSorley, because that if he's going to take the penalties, you've got Charlie Huddy or Daryl Sador even able to come in, and they're going to be able to keep things moving in that positive direction, and they're going to at least be able to tread water until McSorley's ready to come back.
Yeah. So, yeah. And then also in Genesis, there's even the fighting version. I'm not sure if you even touched upon that, but it's a different. Yeah, it adds a new dynamic in the game because you play guys like Probert and stuff.
And maybe I should have mentioned that, honestly, when you asked the question about what to improve about 94, because I remember playing NHL 96 for Super Nintendo, and there was the fighting in it. And so I read, of course, over the years about how fighting was originally supposed to be an NHL PA 94 before they got the NHL license for it. They had it coded into the game from the holdover from 93 and all that. And so, of course, they were going to expand upon it, whatever. Then the NHL asked them to take it out, to make more of a fan-friendly game, whatever. And so I literally, once I was reading about this when I was, say, 21, 22, whatever, back 15 years ago, I remember wondering, I'm like, so that fighting mechanic that they had originally in 94 before it was pulled out, I used to ask myself, I wonder how similar that is to the fighting that's in NHL 96 Super Nintendo. And so lo and behold, you mentioned, of course, the ROM came out at the end of the year or the beginning of 2026 or whatever. I was sitting there watching the ROM hacking, the little section on Discord, just waiting because I knew it was coming. I'm like, oh boy, it's going to be here. It's going to be here. I was like a kid on Christmas when it was put out. And so I downloaded it. I tried it out. And the first fight that happened, I'm just kind of analyzing and watching it. And it's like the fighting is just like NHL 96. It's like, now, granted, I know that the fighting code was imported over from an earlier version. I think it was 92 or whatever. But just seeing how that all worked and how the animations were playing out, I would suspect, obviously, that to me says that the fighting was more or less had to have been the same as what it was later. And so I just kind of smiled that it's like, okay, I took a wild guess at this 15 years ago, but it ends up being more or less the same thing as what I thought it was going to be. And basically in my head, it's like, okay, this is now the complete Genesis version of NHL 94.
And surprisingly, it's not being used.
I know
online, but
I've kind of been like waiting to see, like, because I started to get giddy with anticipation. It's like, are they going to do a league where there's going to be fighting or whatever? Why have they not done a classic league, Genesis Classic, using the fighting ROM? They've got to. Why not? It's
I know. I agree. Yeah, it's gonna come soon. I know there's gonna be some leagues that are gonna be, and I have an idea for one that is gonna be using the fighting ROM. So that it's definitely not going to be sitting on the sidelines very long. It's going to be used.
Very good, because yes, it needs to be being used. And heck, if I got to start championing it myself, I'll start screaming as loud as I can to get it to be used. So